In Hollywood, stories of fame are rarely simple, but few rise and fall tales are as haunting, brilliant, and tragic as that of River Phoenix. Born into poverty, shuffled through communes, and raised in a controversial cult, River's path to the screen was anything but conventional. He was a child who knew hunger, who sang for coins on street corners, and who carried the heavy responsibility of supporting his family before he was even a teenager. And yet, in less than a decade, he transformed into one of the most electrifying talents of his generation, a figure critics compared to James Dean and Marlon Brando. Today, we'll explore the extraordinary journey of River Phoenix, from a child escaping the confines of a cult to a young man trapped by the cult of celebrity. River Jude Bottom was born on August 23, 1970, in a log cabin in Madras, Oregon. His parents, John and Arlene, were idealistic wanderers, quintessential hippies searching for a truth beyond the confines of mainstream American society. Their search led them, with their two young children, River and Rain, in tow, to a controversial and radical Christian group known as the Children of God. Founded by David Berg, the Children of God, later known as the Family International, was a nomadic, communal movement that preached a total rejection of the outside world, which they called the system. Members were expected to sever ties with non-believing family and friends and live in poverty, devoting their lives to converting others. For the Bottom family, this meant years of constant upheaval, drifting through Mexico, Puerto Rico, and Venezuela. This was not a childhood of stability or formal education. It was a life lived on the margins. River and his sister Rain were tasked from an astonishingly young age with helping to provide for the family. The Children of God had a darker side, which the family would later renounce. The cult became infamous for its disturbing practices, including a method of evangelism known as flirty fishing, which encouraged female members to use promiscuity to win converts and donations. River himself later alluded to the trauma of this environment, alongside other disturbing claims that have later been quashed by his brother Joaquin. By 1977, John and Arlene had become deeply disillusioned with the direction the Children of God was taking. They made the decision to leave, an act that meant severing their ties with the only community they had known for years. The Bottom family, which now included siblings Joaquin, Liberty, and Summer, stowed away on a cargo ship and returned to the United States. To mark this new beginning, they adopted a new surname, one rich with symbolism, Phoenix, representing their rise from the ashes of their past. Arlene settled the family in Los Angeles and found a job as a secretary for the NBC television network. It was here that she saw a pathway out of poverty for her family. She recognized the unique, raw talent in her children, particularly the intense, soulful quality of her eldest son, River. Talent agent Iris Burton spotted River, Joaquin, and their sisters Summer and Rain singing for spare change in Westwood, Los Angeles, and was so charmed by the family that she soon represented the four siblings. River's talent was immediately apparent. He had a naturalism and an emotional depth that was rare in any actor, let alone a child. After a series of commercials, he landed a role in the television series 7 Brides for 7 Brothers in 1982 at the age of 12, where his performances earned him an enthusiastic following. He was no longer just busking for his family's dinner. He was becoming their primary breadwinner. His big screen breakthrough came in 1985 with the sci-fi adventure Explorers, but it was his role in Rob Reiner's 1986 masterpiece, Stand By Me, that launched him into stardom. He played Chris Chambers, the tough but tender-hearted leader of a group of boys from troubled homes. It was a role that mirrored his own life in uncanny ways. Like Chris, River was an old soul in a young body, a boy who had seen too much and felt a fierce need to protect those he loved. For the film's most emotional scene, where Chris breaks down confessing his fears about his family's reputation, director Rob Reiner reportedly told him to think of a time an adult had let him down. The tears that followed were painfully real. River wasn't just acting, he was channeling a lifetime of hurt. The success of Stand By Me was followed by a string of critically acclaimed performances. In The Mosquito Coast, he held his own opposite his idol, Harrison Ford. And in 1988, his heartbreaking role as the son of fugitive parents in Running on Empty earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He was just 18 years old. With his Oscar nomination, River Phoenix became more than just a movie star. He became an icon. In an era of Hollywood excess, he was the antithesis, a staunch vegan, a passionate environmentalist, and a dedicated animal rights activist. He used his fame as a platform, buying up hundreds of acres of endangered rainforest in Costa Rica and speaking eloquently about the causes he believed in. For a generation of young people, he was a figure of profound integrity, sensitive, intelligent, and deeply principled. He was, in effect, the hero they had been waiting for. He had escaped the cult of his childhood, only to find himself the figurehead of a new one, the cult of personality. But this public persona, this saint-like image, created an immense internal pressure. The boy who had been forced to be an adult on the streets of Venezuela was now expected to be a moral guidepost for millions. It was a crushing weight for anyone to bear, let alone a young man still grappling with the trauma of his past. He felt a responsibility to be perfect, to live up to the pure image his family and his fans expected of him. Yet, behind the scenes, he was struggling. He spoke of the psychic baggage he carried from his childhood and the feeling of being an outsider in the glitzy, often superficial world of Hollywood. The very sensitivity that made him such a compelling actor also made him profoundly vulnerable. By the time he played a young Indiana Jones in 1989, aged 19, he was already an old soul, weary from a life that had demanded so much from him so early. The journey from cult survivor to cult hero was complete, but the foundations were unstable. The immense pressure of being a living ideal, while privately wrestling with the demons of his past, pushed Phoenix to self-medication as a form of escape. In the final years of his life, the icon of clean living began using drugs as a way to numb the pain and quiet the noise of his own mind. The end came with shocking finality in the early hours of October 31st, 1993, when River suffered a deadly overdose at the Viper Room, a popular club on the Sunset Strip, part owned by Johnny Depp. The world was stunned. The news seemed impossible, a cruel paradox that shattered the carefully constructed image of a young man who seemed to stand for everything pure and hopeful. 3 decades later, River Phoenix's influence remains profound. His younger brother Joaquin has spoken often of River's impact on his own career, crediting him as the reason he became an actor. Directors still cite River's performances as benchmarks of honesty, and fans, both old and new, continue to discover his work, finding in him a rare mix of fragility and strength. River's journey from cult survivor to cult hero resonates because it embodies both triumph and tragedy. He overcame a childhood of hardship to become an icon, but his flame was extinguished before its full brilliance could shine.